Welcome back to Actual Proper Podcast. I'm Reece Farkash, and my co-host is Twila Amato, and we are so happy to be back, aren't we?
Yes, we definitely are.
It's been 1 week since our last episode. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, weeks fly by so fast.
It feels like 1 week is like 1 to
Year?
5 months these days.
Honestly, yeah, especially when it's all...
And that's not even just because it actually hasn't been a week. It's literally 2020.
2020
has been a decade.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's been
But we're
feeling
not
like
here
it's been a
to
decade.
talk about 2020. We're here to talk about Halloween.
All right, well, I guess that's that for catching up, eh?
No catching up, only Halloween.
Okay, well, we're gonna be talking about Halloween. It's spooky
Yeah, we have a
season.
bunch of topics.
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but generally we wanted to talk about Halloween, just to kind of like celebrate in our own way, mostly because we're not going to any parties. Not that we ever were planning on going to parties, even if, you know, COVID-19 wasn't a thing, but you know what I mean? But yeah, so we just wanted to talk about a little bit about Halloween and just generally spooky things. So Halloween. What is it?
What is Halloween? Can you tell us what Halloween is? I'm begging you. Please. Please.
He's being sarcastic. So
No. Please tell us. It's actually interesting.
So Halloween is a contraction of All Hallows or Hallows Eve. I can't speak
Hallows?
English. Hallows. Like
Hallows, right?
Hallows?
Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows. Is it Deathly Hallows?
I don't know.
I don't like those last two.
Actually,
Harry
it's
Potter
hallowed
movies.
because like hallowed, like our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So it should be hallows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
All
that makes
Hallows.
sense. That's
Eve.
fair. Yeah.
So yes.
What's a hallow?
A hallow?
Yeah.
It's something like super sacred and holy.
So it's
and
not
venerated.
like a piece of your soul.
No.
Oh.
Like a Horcrux?
Yeah.
No, that's different. Okay. Harry Potter is a different kind of creepy, I guess. All right. So, according to Wikipedia, which is, you know, the most pertinent of all sources.
Okay. Once you give us all these details, we'll rank it. We'll compare it, how it compares to Harry Potter in how exciting it is.
Okay.
Okay, go.
So, Halloween, according to Wikipedia, is also known as All Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or All Saints Eve. And it is a celebration observed in many countries on October 31st, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day. It begins the observance of All Hallowtide. I had no idea that was a thing.
Is there a feast?
The time, so the time in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, so hallows, so like I said, venerated like people or things, hence hallow, martyrs, and the faithfully departed or faithful departed. So you wouldn't be...
You know, it's kind of weird they didn't put like soldiers in there because like in 2 weeks it's Remembrance Day, but back when they were making Halloween traditions, that wasn't already included in like all the people who gave their lives for those
not necessarily
countries.
soldiers, but if those soldiers were like, I don't know, believers or whatever, then they would be remembered as well.
I see.
So so this is basically just generally the people who have previously died, I guess. So that's what Halloween is. So to my knowledge, and this is kind of going into one of the topics that I wanted to talk about, was what was Halloween like for us growing up. And for me, Halloween wasn't actually this, you know, like
What
this...
is Halloween in the Philippines?
Okay, so it's not really a thing. It didn't really become a thing until very, very recently, actually. So trick-or-treating wasn't really a thing growing up. It started... I do remember my aunt and my uncle taking us to the mall and going trick-or-treating there, quote-unquote trick-or-treating. We had like small baskets. We weren't dressed up. We literally were just like, you know, dressed as if we were going to go to the mall. Yeah, we were just going to the mall. There were no other decorations, and you just had to go up to a store and go trick-or-treat. And
Did they
then
actually fulfill
they would
their
give
end
you
of the
candy.
bargain?
They would give you candy. But then that was that. And it wasn't really this scary thing because as many people know, obviously the Philippines is, you know, a majority, kind of like majorly Catholic country, and you know, like if you weren't Catholic, you were some kind of Christian, right? Some denomination of Christian. And so Halloween for us growing up was actually observed as All Saints Day, along with November 1st, which is All Souls Day. And so every single year we would go to the cemetery and set up shop there for like I remember.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you would bring food. You'd camp out at
what? You're having
cemetery.
Like a cookout.
Yeah,
all day
at the cemetery. So when I was very young, I remember we did this a couple of times where we actually slept at the cemetery. And yeah, so basically it's, again, as I had just read previously on the internet, that, you know, this is Halloween was this celebration where you know, celebrated those who have departed, those who are dead, and just remembering, I guess, their faithfulness and just what kind of person they are. And so it's basically just literally a huge family reunion
so it's
at
more
the cemetery.
Like a Day of the Dead celebration than
kind
it is like
of
Halloween that we know.
Right, exactly.
It's more like, you know, Latin American Day of the
Well,
Dead.
yeah, exactly. But Latin American also, or not Latin, but the Mexican kind of, because the Mexican Day of the Dead is the most quote unquote popular Day of the Dead, right? So it's kind of similar to that, where you see a lot of families camping out at grave sites and actually having a huge family reunion, and then talking about their departed ones and celebrating them and stuff like that, and actually cleaning out the graves, you know, pulling out weeds.
What?
Yeah, like
cleaning out.
Not
like
exhuming. Maintenance. Okay. Yeah. So sorry.
Going to the crypts.
Okay, look, it has been a long day that has felt like 10 years.
But if you are going to be doing a podcast for Halloween, I mean, you can't do it during the day. I feel like that's unethical.
Okay. Anyway, so that's what Halloween was like for us, was this kind of like 2-day marathon of just literally being at the cemetery. Excuse me. And basically, well, yeah, the 31st and November 1st. And I do remember, so I went to Catholic school growing up, and a lot of that too was praying for the souls of the departed, because it is Catholic belief that like you need to pray these souls into heaven kind of situation. So
wouldn't they already be there by now?
It's complicated.
When you die, isn't it just kind of like a there and then kind of a thing?
Well, no, because in Catholicism you go to purgatory. So you have to pray them into heaven to get them there.
Surely someone has done that before then, though. Like when they die.
What do you mean?
Like, say a person dies.
Yeah.
Wouldn't someone pray them into heaven right then and there? Why are they making them wait around? What?
Don't ask me about these things, because I have actively...
them like a higher...
I have
like
actively blocked this out of my mind. I have actively blocked all the mechanics of this out of my mind growing up, because it was just too much. So I don't actually know.
It does seem like more of kind of like a scraps kind of a thing.
I feel
that's
like,
not oft talked about even in religious circles.
Right. Well, a lot of it
Maybe, I don't know.
A lot of it too is, especially in these faith circles, and not just, you know, Catholicism, a lot of it was just, it brings people comfort knowing that someone is listening, right? Like someone out there or up there, wherever they may be, is listening, and it will hopefully, you know, have a place in heaven. Or, you know, in some cases, because it's not just about your dead relatives, it's also about the saints and the martyrs and like other people who have passed on before you. And so you pray to these saints, and, you know, again, it's that kind of like believing in a higher power, and then taking comfort in that maybe perhaps they heard you. You know what I mean? So it's this kind of like thing. I mean,
fun.
Yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah, so I do remember too that October was like what they called a rosary month. And I don't know if this is a thing in all of Catholicism, or if this was just like the school that I went to, but every October leading up to Halloween, literally, you would say pray the rosary all the way through every single morning. It was not fun. It was not fun for me.
I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, no, it was not fun. I remember I used to freak out, and like one such freak out that I had to be taken out of like my classroom because I was sobbing uncontrollably, and they're like, maybe she had a demon inside her. I was just like, no, but
Plot
really,
twist.
but really, it was just because I was so freaked out by the little like Jesus statue. So
Maybe that was the demon, though.
anyway,
Right?
so that was what Halloween was like for me growing up. So it wasn't really what we know now in North America, I guess, or in a lot of Western countries.
Not gonna lie, I like ours more. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what
Way
was
better.
all right? Well, what was Halloween like for you growing up, Reece?
Well, Halloween growing up, very rural. There's not like you don't like go out trick or treating per se. Like you don't like go out with your friends or your family, like walking through the streets or suburbs.
Okay.
Most of the Halloween activities take place in the schools, like during the day. Like you would go to class like in your costume, that kind of stuff. Sometimes
cute.
you might get like a little candy or whatever, or sometimes there might be Halloween activities during the day. But that was pretty much it. Then when you went home, you like quickly had supper as a family, and then what you would do if you were like young kids is your parents would just drive you to the houses because they're so far away, every single house.
Right. So you didn't really get to walk around.
Oh God, no.
Okay.
You wouldn't make it to the next house if you walked. But
you'd be eaten by wolves.
So driving around to each house, you in the span of like however long it takes before like small kids to fall asleep, like just riding around in the vehicles, you probably go to like, if you're lucky and put in a lot of effort, like 20 houses. Usually less than that. But also, in the past decade, that's like not really a thing anymore. It's not popular. There's pretty much no Halloween celebrations, just like the school ones.
Right.
And that's pretty much it.
So did you go trick-or-treating? Or
I did when I was a kid, but
Right.
that was kind of like, it didn't last long as a community past that time. Like the future kids.
Well, I mean, there
Not
weren't
as
really a
much.
lot of kids growing up.
There's
either,
also
right?
not a lot of kids
Right.
around, and especially not a lot of young kids. It's not that common. But living in the city in Edmonton, and then all the cities I've lived in since, I have never got a lot of trick-or-treaters where I've lived. I've always lived in apartments.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you've lived in apartment buildings.
Yeah, but in Edmonton, it was a walk-up. So it was like, it wasn't in a building. It was just like there.
Right, yeah.
It was just like on the street, like kind of like a house was, except for it was just like a staircase.
The second
leading
level,
up to
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And didn't see a lot of trick-or-treaters there. Maybe like a few, maybe like 10.
Well, maybe it also depends on your neighborhood,
Yeah,
right?
it
I mean,
depends
if
how much
it's-
kids are in your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, like, I feel like if you're a kid in the city, you would go to like all like the rich suburbs for
Would
sure.
you though? I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially if they're
Also
gated
the
communities,
non-sketchy
probably
ones,
not.
because I mean, like you're walking around with your friends and stuff, But
I mean, I guess I don't
anyway.
know. I
And
mean,
then-
I grew up in East Van. Every neighborhood was sketchy, so you just had to make.
there's
you
rich.
know.
There's plenty of rich. You can leave East Van, go to the.
I mean,
rich
sure,
places.
yeah, but not without driving, right? And
Yeah.
when with
Well,
your friends,
yeah, like
you,
you
take transit and then walk around and stuff.
But you can just get your parents to drop you off. But anyway,
Oh no, my parents were not participants in Halloween.
okay, not
that was
your
outside of
parents,
like
but
religious
the
context.
average kid can get their parents to drive them.
Oh, the average person. I
Not
see.
you, not
I see. I see.
But also working at West Edmonton Mall, you see tons and tons of people lining up trick-or-treating in the mall, which was so weird for me when I first experienced that, because I had no idea that
You could
people-
trick or treat in a mall.
in a mall,
Yeah,
with, like,
yeah.
businesses. It
For
was
sure.
so weird to me. But then, like, I think the first and second years I was there, because I worked at the mall for like 3-4, I don't remember, a long time.
It's all a blur.
Yeah. So the first couple times seeing it, it was really weird because like the mall is normally packed frequently enough on the weekends and then on holidays. But then like when you have like lineups of like 50 kids at like every business, it gets so hard to walk through the mall because there's all these lines for every single business. But I mean, it's a good idea. It's safe. It's warm. Like you can have your parents come with you, I guess. Like it's a lot better than
it's
going
a little
outside.
yeah,
And
for sure.
if you're a really young kid, then walking around in the dark is kind of scary. But anyway, I thought that was cool though. Every store I've worked at though, we've never participated.
Oh,
but
lame.
Also, we were never really on the main drag of the mall itself. Really,
Okay.
When I was working at Simon's, we were off in like kind of like the higher end section, and it was like on the second floor.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's not as
where it's really densely packed
for
with
sure.
all those businesses, like your run of the mills,
like the prime spots for those prime time, I guess, like
like not in the middle of the
mainstream.
mall kind
Yeah,
of a thing.
for sure.
And then like the other place I worked was in the middle of the food court, so like
Oh, that's bizarre.
yeah, it was a clothes store in the middle of the food court. It's bizarre.
That's weird.
Don't know how that happened, but yeah. So I mean, of course, no one came there. But I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I mean, unfortunately, though, of course, because, we're in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of those things
Yeah, no trick or treat
are kind of in question right now. I mean, there are some neighborhoods and there are some people I know who are preparing for trick-or-treaters. And so what they've done is they've actually packaged a bunch of candy into a bag that they've sanitized. And then they would just leave them on their doorstep. That's the plan. Or some of them have built like themselves a candy chute where it's literally like a hose or a pipe or whatever that they've just put on their like their porch railing or whatever, and they'll just shoot candy out of it, and then the trick-or-treaters would just be at the bottom of that like pipe, you know what I mean, receiving the candy.
That's so dystopian.
Well, yeah, but it's also kind of just like
so funny.
Well, it's kind of just like, well, you gotta be innovative,
Yeah,
right?
it's
and creative.
resourceful,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
resourceful.
hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.
Trick or treat, standing at the end of the shoot. Vroom.
Candy, here you go. But I know that a lot of the trick-or-treating in the malls is definitely gonna be in question. I know here in Kelowna that's canceled, so it's kind of sad.
Like community centers and schools too, I imagine. Sorry.
Reece, you always do this every single time. Every week.
Yeah,
every week your phone.
Every single week.
Your phone goes out. Yeah, no, that's kind of so that's what Halloween was like for us growing up, I guess, is very different things. But
what's our next topic?
So I also, obviously in the spirit of Halloween and all things creepy. I mean, obviously it hasn't, at least personally for me, it hasn't always been creepy or about creepiness necessarily. I guess growing up in that situation, like camping out at like a freaking cemetery, that wasn't really abnormal to me, and it wasn't necessarily creepy to me. But obviously, as someone who believes in, this stuff, in spirits and angels and higher power, obviously, I naturally also believe in ghosts. So I figured, again, in the spirit of Halloween, we should probably share some spooky stories. So I mean, I have one.
Which, yeah, you can have. I don't have a spooky story, so.
Yeah, Reece doesn't believe in anything.
My spooky story is like,
I'm kidding.
I was downtown and it was really late.
My spooky story is I filed my taxes late. Which you always do.
Every single time. I'm so close to the deadline. My spooky story right now is like getting through 2020.
Oh my god, no kidding, eh?
That was a good one.
Yikes. No, I have.
What's yours?
Well, I have a couple. I have one that's uber long that's always like kind of stuck with me. It happened when I was very young, but I'm not gonna say here. I'm not gonna tell it here just because it's like super long. But I've had.
Wait, I thought you were talking about the spooky story.
No, I just built it up, and then I'm not gonna talk about it.
What the heck?
No, but I'll tell you it. I'll tell you it later. But I have it's kind of weird because so I firmly believe that the office that I work at now, there's something lurking in that office building.
Something lurking.
Like there's something in there that I don't know what
Why
the hell
it
it
there?
is.
Is it a dead paper boy?
Maybe, I don't know, someone who wasn't paid.
That's too real. That's my spooky story.
But
Why isn't he haunting the higher ups?
Why is he haunting
the
us?
everyman?
The little people. I don't know. I do remember because there were a couple of times. Well, not just a couple, but like I remember when I first started at this job before, when I was just starting to learn the ropes, obviously, and starting to just kind of get my bearings. And this was before you came to the city, so I was pretty much alone all the time. So I was just like, well, I might as well just like work all the time because there's no one to come home to.
Healthy.
Yes, so I was just always at work. So there were a lot of nights where I would be at the office all by myself, or like there would be mornings where I would be the first one in, or like sometimes even weekends where I'd be the only person in there. So this happened a few times where I would just hear someone talking in the building.
Well, there's so many businesses that connect directly to
Well, no,
your
so
office.
here's the thing. You don't hear them, and none of them are open over the weekends because two of them are no, let me finish.
Okay.
Two of them are clinics. One is a chiropractor and one is like a laser clinic, whatever. And then there's another one like at the very, very end of the building, like the opposite side of the newsroom is like some liquidation store or whatever, and you never hear them. Like you don't hear these people. And it's not necessarily an old building. Like there is a difference.
It's new.
Yeah, it's a newer building, and there is a difference between like pipes creaking and floorboards creaking and all those things, like building noises, right? There's a difference between that and things that, like a conversation.
But also, there's no one else in the office. So there's far less noise.
Yeah.
So you can hear the other businesses and whatnot.
No.
It's so quiet.
Don't.
You can still hear the other businesses. Like
you don't.
Just because it's a chiropractor doesn't mean people can be there in the off hours.
Well,
people
sure.
Are at work you were at work on the weekend.
Sure. I'm not. I'm not.
Maybe people thought you were a ghost too.
No.
What about? It could have been a janitor. It could have been.
Well, no, it's
so
different.
many.
It's different because, well, one, our janitor is definitely, I don't know, like he's quiet as a mouse. Like
I thought you were gonna say he's a ghost.
He's a ghost.
He's definitely a ghost.
Al, if you're
No, that
listening
we
to
know.
this, you're a ghost. I'm
That's
kidding.
not a spooky story. It's a fact. It's a
No,
spooky
it's
fact.
not a fact. It's a spooky story. Like I have a lot of that where, I mean, again, obviously it's easy to discount if you don't believe in these things, right? But there is a certain kind of like feeling that that that's not a thing in like not a natural thing, you know what I mean? And like it has happened sometimes where I would be, in the kitchen and I would feel someone in the kitchen with me. Like I would hear someone come in to the kitchen and feel them there, and I turn around like thinking it's one of my coworkers, and just like to chat, but there's no one there. And then sometimes I would just like, I firmly believe I see ghosts.
So
Reece
the ghosts
thinks
are only
I'm
tangible,
like
their feet are tangible, like making the noises,
I don't know,
and
maybe.
the rest of them aren't.
Yes,
Okay.
it's possible. So anyways, like I said, I firmly believe that I see ghosts. And Reece thinks I'm like nuts for thinking
No, I just
that.
think you have like eye floaties or something. 'Cause
It's not eye floaties though. That's the thing.
you strain your
I
eyes
know.
so much all the time.
I know what eye floaties look like,
But
especially
they could
from
also be,
eye
like,
strain.
blurred eye. Like
No.
sometimes you have blurred patches. Like when you first wake up, like your vision's blurry.
Sure.
It's like a different film is
It
across
is.
your eye.
Absolutely.
Maybe you just have one of
No,
those.
but it's not. That's the thing. It's not. And I know the difference between my strained eyes and like my eye floaties and my eye crusties and all those things. Like, and I know when I see a ghost, and I've seen them in the office. So that's
You've
not
seen
necessarily
the ghost.
Yes.
I-
You see them in the office. Sometimes they're in my
so if
like
you can
particular
see,
office.
hear, and like hear their footprints and stuff, that sounds just like a human. It doesn't sound like a ghost. If you can see them, you can hear
They
them.
feel like ghosts,
Am
Reece.
I a ghost?
No, you're just an unbeliever. Stone cold unbeliever, bitch. So that's my
So
spooky
vulgar.
story.
This is gonna get explicit. Just kidding.
Demonetized.
In Canada, in broadcasting, it's not an explicit word.
What?
The B
Bitch?
word, yeah.
Oh. I mean, it's not really. Not a lot of people consider it explicit.
Anyway, we're not going to get into this because that's such a sensitive topic.
Media law.
Just not.
All right. Anyways.
Yeah, anyway.
So those are my kind
So
of
that's
like.
your spooky story?
Well,
People?
my series of spooky stories, seeing
The one that
and
you couldn't say
feeling
and then the
ghosts.
one you saw person at work.
I'm gonna kick you.
Okay. So thank you for sharing those spooky stories.
But then I just have to say this. When I said that I saw a ghost behind Reece one time, he freaked the hell out. I remember it was in the living room, and you're like, "What? Where is it? Where is it? Oh my god, what was it doing? What did it look like?" And I'm like, "Well, it was just there, and then it left."
And you said it didn't. There was nothing. Like it doesn't look like anything.
No, it just left. It's a presence, and it just left.
So it didn't look like it was invisible.
It didn't look invisible. It looked like a person, like entity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, it left. Like it walked out of our living room, and then he was like really freaked out. And I'm like, I wasn't trying to freak him out. I was just
thing. Everything is more credible when it's nighttime.
It wasn't nighttime though when this happened.
It was.
No, it wasn't. It was in the middle of the day.
Okay,
it was a weekend.
Okay, sure.
I wasn't
believe you.
trying to scare you though. I was just saying, oh look, there was a ghost, and that was that.
Anyway, what a riveting conversation.
Very riveting.
I wanted to talk about some apparently top 5 Halloween movies that everyone should see.
Apparently, according to who?
I was curious to see that's the thing. I was curious to see if even a list of such high esteem, like top 5 Halloween movies that everyone should see, holds up to us. We're part of everyone, and if we haven't seen them, then I'm just curious to see if we've seen them, if they really are that detrimental to Halloween. So
detrimental? Like good for Halloween or bad for Halloween, you mean?
Good for, celebrating Halloween, getting in the Halloween spirit.
Okay.
So, crucial.
Mm-hmm.
The first one in our list is Halloween Town. This is really funny because I actually just brought this up earlier today.
Yeah, when I was talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I said
apparently there's a Halloween Town in that.
Yes.
See, I actually know this movie, Halloween Town.
I've
When I was
never heard of
confused, I was
this.
like, did they rip it off of this movie?
That's why you made that reference. No, I don't know about this movie, and
it's a series of movies. There's
okay,
3,
the series of movies. I'm not necessarily. I don't feel myself interested.
Okay. Well, it came out a long time ago, like late 90s, and this is also a weird kind of coincidence. The main character, her name is Marnie, and she's like a kid, and she finds out her grandma can do magic, spoiler alert, and they go to Halloween Town, solve a plot of, evil Halloween Townians. But you just watched a movie last night, a Studio Ghibli movie someone was called Marnie in it. Such an odd name.
Marnie,
But,
yeah.
I'm hearing Marnie and Halloween Town everywhere these days.
That's funny
They have nothing to do with this movie.
because that movie that I watched last night was actually partly a ghost story, but not in a scary, creepy way necessarily.
All these lines lead back to Halloween Town, the movie. Anyway, it's so dumb. It's a kid's movie. it's great for small kids,
Mm-hmm.
and the series is good for them, I guess. It's really funny because it's really not well made.
Sure.
Because the budget's like zero. Because it's like a Disney Channel original movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I might watch it. We'll see.
It's funny just to make fun of it. Unless you have kids, then it's actually, I guess, interesting to them. But it's really funny. There's a series of them, and I would rank it 2 out of 5 pumpkins for Halloween detriment.
You keep saying detriment. Detriment is a negative word.
Positrint. Next element in our list is Hotel Transylvania. This is a newer one,
Yeah,
which I
it's
was
quite new.
excited to see on the list because
I
so many
actually
of these movies are old, as you'll find out.
this one I've seen for sure many a
I
time.
haven't seen it.
It's pretty good.
Can you just tell us how many pumpkins it is?
I would rate it a solid 4 out of 5 pumpkins.
Halloweeniness of overall Halloween positriness?
Celebration. Well, I mean, if you're just looking for something that sure is a little Halloween themed.
Does Halloween even come up in the movie?
Well, I mean, it's set in a Halloweeny, like Transylvania.
Yeah, but it does.
Halloween.
I feel like any Halloween movie that has that high of a score has to somehow deal with Halloween.
Okay, well, I have to admit that obviously my, like my preferences are that, it doesn't have jump scares, it doesn't have gore, it doesn't have like real
It's like a Disney
effects.
movie.
So it's
not
a
a horror
Disney
movie.
movie. Well, I don't think it's a Disney movie necessarily, but
Close enough.
yeah, but it's an animated movie about Count Dracula, and it's comedy. That's what it is, but it's set in this town again in Transylvania, where literally everybody's a monster or like a fictional a fantasy character, right? So that's why I rate it as such, as a solid 4 out of 5 pumpkins, again because those are my preferences for like Halloween movies. Like I can't watch horror movies and I can't watch gore or violence.
There's definitely none of that in
And there's
Halloween
none of
Town.
that. This movie is literally a 3-year-old can watch it.
Okay, well, I
have the
that
mind of a
score in
3-year-old.
high suspect, but for now, 4 out of 5 pumpkins.
Like I said, I have a mind of
All right,
mind of a 3-year-old.
The next one, we have to burn through these kind of quick because we're way over time, is Young Frankenstein.
I've never heard of that, and I've never seen it.
I've never heard of it, and Mel Brooks is in it.
Don't know who that is.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, okay. 0 out of 5 pumpkins. Hocus Pocus.
I've heard this a lot, never seen it.
I've heard about it. I have never seen it.
Never seen it.
0 out of 5 pumpkins. So that's a 2, a 4, and 2 zeros in a row.
All right.
The last one in this list, the top 5 Halloween movies everyone should see is The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Do you like Charlie Brown movies? I hate them.
I think
I've
they're
never seen one
fine.
full, but
I've seen the
think-
Christmas one.
I think all kids movies from that era where all kids movies and kids media was so depressingly sad should just be thrown in the garbage forever.
I thought it was all right, but I mean, I've never heard or seen The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, so definitely 0 out of 5 pumpkins.
0
for
out of
me.
5 pumpkins. Can we go negative? I want to give this a negative.
What the heck?
Negative 1 out of 5 pumpkins.
Clearly,
for the
your
Great Pumpkin,
bias,
Charlie Brown.
your bias against Charlie Brown is showing.
I'm not only am I biased against Charlie Brown, but also of the era of children's animation that it's from. So
Well, you
negative
know what?
1.
You are a boomerist.
You know what? Negative 2. All right, that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next week.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye bye.